Welcome to my March 2019 bullet journal spread. This month I decided to try something new and use an opening page for my monthly spread. I did this because I wanted there to be a break in between the months instead of flipping directly into the next month. It also gives a creative outlet so my doodling can be larger and more fun instead of cramped and crowding the monthly Outlook page each time. Here I did some tall and skinnier bubble letters. I'm filling them in with my Tombow Fudeneske Pen. To outline them, I used the Sakura Micron PN fine liner. At the top of the page, I used a pencil to outline a lion. I'm using my fine liner to go over the light pencil before I color it in. I like to draw this way because it looks more illustratory and helps me to hide any mistakes, which I have a lot of. I like how the little details, especially in the lion's mouth, really brought him some character. The little teeth were so hard to draw because I was afraid they'd look dull, but they turned out great. And so did his little tongue that really makes him remind me of the MGM lion. The little tufts of hair were super fun to draw, and I really liked how after I colored them in, it really brought a lot of life and character into the lion, making him pop out of the page and easily noticeable. My grandmother always said, "March comes in like a lion and out like a lamb." So that's where I got the inspiration for this month's spread. So at the top we have this vicious looking lion, and at the bottom we have a softer looking lamb. I again went over him with pencil first to make sure I liked how he looked before I went over him with my fine liner pen. He was a lot quicker to draw since lambs are soft and don't seem to have quite as much detail. Back to the lion, I used my fine liner to fill in his nose and gums. Filling in the gums really did bring out the teeth, and I liked how the plastic nib helped me to really get in between each teeth so that it could pop out of his mouth and make him look a lot more lively. If you can't tell already, this is by far my new favorite pen to use for bullet journaling, and I've been using it for the whole year so far. Using a light-colored Tombow Brush Pen, I filled in his face so that the face would be a little bit more muted against the brighter colors of his mane. I really liked how realistic but still doodly that the color made him. I used the same brush pen to go into some of the hair tufts on his mane so that everything would blend together once I used a little bit brighter of markers. And here I'm going in and adding a couple more tufts to fix a couple little mistakes and stray lines. It's hard to even tell that there was any mistakes to begin with after I finished that. Going back in, filling in some of the tufts with my Crayola Supertips. I'm using a couple of the orangey yellowish markers, but not full orange or full yellow, to kind of keep it still popping but a little bit muted. There's no rhyme or reason to which color I'm using for which tufts. I just went with the fly and decided what looked best in the moment. To finish up the lion, I filled in his mouth. I first went in with a darker pink color to fill in the roof of his mouth and below his tongue. It was really hard to not get anything on his teeth, but I proudly say that I didn't make any mistakes, and his teeth really pop against that darker pink background. You can really almost start to hear him start roaring once his mouth is completely filled in. He looks just like a cartoon version of the MGM lion. Once I finished filling in the roof of his mouth and below his tongue, I went back in with a lighter pink marker for the tongue. Back to our lamb, I drew a little rose and 2 leaves on my little lamb here. I did this because I wanted him to be a little reminiscent of the Puffalump lambs that they had by Fisher-Price. I had one when I was super little and completely loved this little lamb, so it was a little nod to the little lamb I loved. For the calendar page, I used separated boxes again, and I used 7 boxes by 6 boxes for each boxes to make all the rows semi-evenish with an odd number. On the left, I used some rain clouds to make the left side stormy because March comes in like a lion, and on the right side, it's nice and sunny with beams of light for the out like a lamb part, since lambs are nice and light and fun and springtime, and the lion is more like grr, rain, storms, and all that mess. At the bottom of the page, I put the little quote that my grandmother always said, and I made the line in the lamb parts nice and pretty with some faux calligraphy where I wrote in nice pretty cursive and then kind of filled in those downstrokes to make it look like it was actually calligraphy, which I'm still working on, but will learn how to do eventually. I still left those downstrokes pretty skinny because the regular letters were very fat, so I wanted it to balance out a little bit. I filled in the left sides of my boxes and lost my cap to balance out the way the boxes look, since they're 7 across and 6 down. It also brought a little bit more color into the page where I would have had to get a little bit more creative to get a little bit more color onto the paper. I used the same purple that I did in the lamb's ears on the previous page to fill in the second half of the month to still go along with the lion-lamb trend. The orange looks kind of sunny, but it was meant to be the color of the lion on the first page. And then I just went in and quickly wrote in regular handwriting the numbers of each day. I went back to my little Johnny Rain Cloud at the top left and used a dark gray marker to fill in the bottom to make it look like it's about to rain. And then I used a little bit of a darker one underneath that before filling it in with a darker blue color to kind of make it pop out and look like it has some dimension. With that darker blue, I made some little raindrops because it's supposed to be rainy and storming in the beginning of March. On the next side, I filled in the nice sunbeams with a nice warm and bright yellow for the sunny end of March, and left the inside of it white because it's nice and bright. This month I wanted to do a gratitude log so I could keep track of things I'm grateful for, and I can read over it if I'm ever having a bad day. I spelled it wrong on purpose because I was thinking of the Kellogg's tiger, but he's a tiger and not a lion, so whoops. On the next page is my mood tracker, and I went along with that Puffalump theme, and I know that there is a Puffalump lamb, but I'm not super sure if there is one about a lion. So this is my rendition of what a Puffalump lion would look like, with a kind of tufty but still one piece of fabric mane and the nice rounded ears and happy looking face. I went in and did the mane first and then the face so that it was a little faster to draw these guys. At the bottom of the page, about halfway through 31, I did the Puffalump lamb, and these are a pretty good representation of at least what the head of the Puffalump lamb looks like, especially the first one I drew. I again went out with the outline of the head before I filled in the face to make it a little easier to draw these, and before I did draw any of these, I used pencil first to ensure that I did have 31 and not 32 or 30. I really like how these guys turned out because they're super cute and you don't feel bad about filling them in with marker as one color each day as you track your mood across the month. Here at the bottom, I'm just using the little scale of the colors to indicate which color means what mood. I wanted to shake things up this month and try out a different format for my habit trackers, so I wrote everything out in a little list and then went in and made a squiggly line to the other side of the page for each of the habits to kind of follow in the line. And as you can probably start to tell, this did not turn out how I had planned. It ended up looking just really messy and not very well done. I even forgot a couple little guys, so I had to add them in the bottom and ran out of room. And I did go ahead and number it, thinking that maybe I could salvage it once the lines were in it and it would look cool once I filled in each day of the month. As I continue to draw the lines into the squiggle to mark each day, it still doesn't look like it's going to be too salvageable for the month. And so I moved on. I tucked my tail in between my legs and went on to fill in a workout tracker, which I'm going to use this month so that when I go to the gym each day, I'm not like, what did I do last time I was here? So I just have a space for day, arms, legs, cardio, and I can write in like how much time I worked on it and a brief description of what I did. Inspiration then struck me, and I figured out how I was going to fix this awful mistake of a tracker page that I made. So everything isn't quite as permanent as one might believe. I went in with some awesome wrapping paper that I forgot I had, and I liked this solution since it's very thin, so it doesn't make a bulky section that just screams, I made a mistake in my bullet journal. So I cut it down to size, and it was really helpful that it had lines on the other side so that I could trim it back down to the size it needed to be. To glue it down, I used some Elmer's glue tape, which I picked up at Michael's, and it was super easy, and I also use it for wrapping gifts because it helps you get a nice edge without that tapey look. And I went in with my fine liner and did that same list we saw before, but this time I decided to just go easy on myself and go with a simple layout of just a nice grid instead of this wavy type thing. Maybe next month I'll try to get more creative with my tracker instead of that circle I always use, but this time I'll go in with the pencil. I just used a ruler and my pen to go in and make the grids. I started off measuring everything, but quickly realized that was taking up a lot of time, so I just went in and kind of eyeballed the vertical ones and the horizontal ones. I did measure a little bit, but wanted it to be a little bit faster, but still neat looking. On the bottom of the page, I decided to decorate that empty space with a little quote in some more faux calligraphy with a Supertip marker, and I just did one day at a time because that's how habits are built. And the point of having a habit tracker is so we either break bad habits or create good new habits. Below my little quote, I went in and drew a cute little lamb sitting there, and then on the right side I decided to do another little lion. Since they were so cute and doodly and went with the cute and whimsical-y quote, it really made it look like that paper background was intentional instead of a cover-up. And we get to the weekly spread. Because there was so much detail in the little lions and the little lambs, I decided to go with a more minimal spread for the week, and since I have been having a lot of wasted space on each of my weekly pages, I wanted to try out cramming them onto 2 pages and seeing if that was too much space taken away or if that gave me just the right amount of space to use but not have a lot of excess. And I went in and used just a couple letters of each day and a space for notes to mark in the days, and then used the numbers in just the black marker and real simple and bold below the day of the week, so it's easy to find. My camera died, so here's a shot of the last lion and lamb on that Outlook page for the year, as well as the future log where I had that rain cloud sunshine theme again, and a quick flip through of my monthly spreads. The end. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, give me a thumbs up and comment below for any suggestions on any future monthly layouts for my bullet journal. Can't wait till next time.